We are live now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Maunika from Shield Healthcare. I welcome you all for today's session. SAFOG International Orations Webinar 2013, and today's topic is Amazing Power of Fetal Brain, Most Recent Significant Advances. I welcome you all for today's session, and I welcome Dr. Niharika Malhotra ma'am, our MOC. She's an MBBS MD gold medalist, DRM Germany, DMIS and FIC, MCH, FIGOG, ICCOG Fellowship in Reproductive Medicine. And she's a consultant, Rainbow IVF, Chairperson, Foxy Young Talent Promotion Committee 2020 to 23, Joint Secretary, Foxy 2018, Assistant Editor.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
We can go ahead. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. And I would also like to invite and welcome my MOC, Dr. Shaila Jamal, who's here. And on behalf of me and Dr. Shaila, we all welcome you all today on SAFOG International Oration Webinar. Dr. Shaila Jamal is Associate Professor from Bareilly, and she's a menstrual health specialist. And she also runs her own organization on menstrual health, founder and president of Society of Menstrual Disorders. So welcome, Shaila. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all on this wonderful oration which we are having with Professor Aseem Kurjak. And I would now like to take pleasure to invite our president, Dr. Rohana from Sri Lanka. We all know Sir very well, and he is the founder chairman of Nineswell Care Mother and Baby Hospital, Secretary General of AOFOG, President of SAFOG, and also President of South Asian Federation of Menopause Society. We welcome you here, sir.
Thank you, Niharika. That very kind introduction. You have been introducing me several times over and over again in the last year. So and you are keeping our webinars very live. So I welcome everyone for this SAFOG oration. Actually, this is a series of orations which have been started by Dr. Narendra Malhotra, who is our Director, International Affairs. He has been organizing several orations with international, very renowned speakers around the globe. And so this is the second such oration which we are going to listen to with another real internationally renowned expert on ultrasound, as he's like a father of ultrasound, who has started the Ian Donald School and so on. I mean, his CV will go on to pages. I won't go into detail because everyone knows about him and he will be introduced later. And we are very thankful to Professor Aseem Kurjak for joining and delivering this oration today. So as I said, Dr. Narendra Malhotra is a very active person and officer in our SAFOG, and he has been responsible for organizing these orations. And last year he conducted so many webinars with other international organizations. So today we also have Dr. Harish Shestra from Nepal and Dr. Bahaj from Afghanistan, who will be chairing this session. So we are very happy that they have joined, and so they will be contributing to this webinar very much. And I also thank Niharika and Sheila for moderating this session. So without taking any more time, I will hand you back to the moderators to continue with the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your blessings are always welcomed, and you are an inspiration to all of us. And now, as you know, SAFOG orations always focus on academics, and we take our time very seriously. I hand over the session to Dr. Shaila to welcome our chairpersons.
Thank you so much, Dr. Niharika. And first of foremost, thanks to Rohana sir and Naren Malhotra sir for starting off this academic venture, which is helping millions of people to grow. So with this, we have the permission from the seniors to start our scientific session. And I invite the chairpersons for session, Dr. Harish Shrestha from Nepal and Dr. Hashim Bahaj from Afghanistan. May we have the CV slides, please? Yes. Dr. Harish sir, he is consultant radiologist at the IVF department in Om Hospital and Research Center Private Limited in Kathmandu. And he is director of Om Hospital and Research Center, chairman of Om Health Campus Private Limited and director of Nepal branch of Anne Donald School. He has been awarded with prestigious Mahendra
chairman okay.
Nepal award, and he holds a special interest in prenatal screening, genetic diagnostics, obstetrics, gynecological ultrasound, along with interventional and ART related ultrasound. We welcome you wholeheartedly on this session, sir. So may we have the slide of Bahaj sir? Yes. So sir, born in Kabul, and he has done MBBS from Karachi, Pakistan, and his MCPS from Karachi. He has visiting fellowship in ultrasound from Jefferson University Hospital, USA. He is director of Bahaj Institute of Ultrasound Imaging, Peshawar, and director of Bahaj Institute of Ultrasound Imaging, Kabul. Sir, we hope to learn from you as well. And now I hand over the session to chairpersons for a very kind introduction of our speaker for today.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Narendra Malhotra and Dr. Rohana, Dr. Niharika, Dr. Sheila. So, good evening, everyone. So, thanks for joining. I would like to introduce our respected orator, academician, Dr. Asim Kurzak. He is a professor of obstetric and gynecology at Medical School University of Zagreb, Croatia, and Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. And he is professor emeritus at University Sarajevo School of Science and Technology. He is the president of International Academy of Prenatal Medicine. And he is also president of International Academy of Science and Art in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He has published more than 1,000 papers, and his papers have been cited in 14,000 times, and founder and director of Eindhoven Inter-University School of Medical Ultrasound and editor-in-chief of Donald School Journal of Ultrasound in Obstetric and Gynecology. He has been awarded Dr. Honors Causa from 13 universities worldwide. So I would like to request Dr. Asim Kurzak to start your presentation. With me, Dr. Awaz from Afghanistan. He is a consultant gynae ops from Afghanistan. He is director of Afghanistan branch, Eindhoven. So I would like to request Dr. Asim Kurzak to start your presentation.
Years of my scientific life, I dedicated to study of fetal brain. And when I put the topic amazing power, I really do believe, but would like within the next 30 minutes to convince you that my topic and title of this lecture is really true. You have seen this. So 10 quadrillion operations per second, and you don't know it, your brain is producing. And brain structure for centuries, both structure and function, are immensely intriguing people for ages. Nowadays, brain research accounts for up to 16% of all scientific publication in the world. 16% only brain. And there are many researchers in this field. As a comparison, an average computer can hold 250,000 pictures. 20,000 songs, hundreds of movies on something the size of my finger. We live in a tremendous era of sophistication and technology enters each part of our life. That's why World Health Organization proclaimed 21st century as the century of the mind. And the recent published report of annual cost for brain disorders accounts for more than 35% overall cost for healthcare system of European Union, a lot. So you might say, what is my own role? What I, as an individual, as an excellent doctor, can do to this terrible problem, complex problem? One vote doesn't mean anything. Most of us will. However, look at this table. One vote gave Oliver Cromwell control of England, caused Charles I of England to be executed, gave America the English language instead of German, changed France from monarchy to republic. Furthermore, conferred statehood on California, Oregon, Washington, and Texas, and elected Adolf Hitler to leadership of the Nazi Party and won John Kennedy. So you should give your even modest contribution to this complex problem of fetal brain, because power of brain is most impressive, and one of the largest, most sophisticated supercomputers takes 40 minutes to calculate single second of human brain activities. Most significant development is in fetal period, and with a rate of 250 neurons per minute, neocortex is intensively under construction, but 99% created during the fetal period of life. That's why fetal period became very important. Fetal includes neonatal, because we speak about the same person in two different parts of their lives. This is the first pioneering study group which met in Barcelona, and you can recognize many of the people there. Unfortunately, half of them are not among us. They passed away, and brain time is time where we are living now. Excellent window for optimization for brain development. But brain develops rapidly. It's most changeable fetal organ, and correlation to motor and sensory system development essential for determining how environmental effects can affect certain structures as well as function. So brain develops structure and function in parallel. So maturation, very complex dynamic process influenced by intrinsic, extrinsic, however, degree of contribution of each is still unclear and is subject of studies. So we can, for students, visualize many parts, and anyone of you entering this field must really study all of these cerebral hemispheres and see even small structure inside. Because this is too late, but you should really know what you can look for. Cerebellum, vermis, primary fissure, posterolateral fissure. I'm showing you everything on pathoanatomical models, which is now detectable by 3D sonography. And corpus callosum easily detected with rostrum, with the gernum, and with the body, and stenium. So additional help in corpus callosum, in particular study of absent corpus callosum, is vascularization. You can see brain vascularization by 3D power Doppler. You can see arteria pericallosa. However, if there is no corpus callosum, there is no arteria pericallosa. You cannot visualize because absent corpus callosum here. My group found that this is much easier, much more simple method to detect absent corpus callosum with absent of arteria pericallosa and knowing the structure of corpus callosum. Ventricles are the bridge between ventricles is corpus callosum. You know that we have 4 ventricles, the third aqueduct we have the fourth one, and all of them can be directly studied in both structure and function. Cerebellum, also important, but inside cerebellum we have primary fissure, posterolateral fissure, and so on. Coming to function, dendrites, tiny building blocks make up foundation of our thoughts. So we are moving to function. Cerebral cortex probably consists of somewhere between 10 and 50 billion such cells, and each one is different, and each one has its own function. Thousands of individually formed extensions branch out from their bodies like trees, and dendrites receive electrical signals of other neurons. There is a lot to be learned about that. But scientists defined zones of thinking, dividing them in human cerebral cortex in zones according to function. Four major are frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. So all of them easily detectable. However, it remains unclear how billions of synapses produce thought, how the close communication of neurons produces the power of mind trying to understand universe. Nobody has yet managed to figure out how our thought process happens, how our brain calculates, thinks, and analyzes, how it remembers the past, or images the future. That is called intelligence. There are now already pioneering papers telling that intelligence origin in utero. And to study intelligence and its origin, you really have to know how intelligence moves and connects. Engaging in sports, for example, in younger days increases intelligence. A team of scientists examined more than 1 million Swedish soldiers. Subjects which were in better physical shape had better result in intelligent tests. Brain of the person which moves probably reconnects more in order to orient. Furthermore, on average, fast-born children have index intelligence several points higher than the younger, probably by the fact that older children help their younger siblings overcome numerous situations. As young girl, 65 years old Marilyn Savant had the highest IQ ever recorded, 228 points, the highest. However, scientists believe that values above 150 are pointless. Other objects that the tests measure more our adaptation to the contemporary world than our intelligence. Individuals who daily exercise with dancing or playing music have a lesser incidence of dementia. Intelligent people in general live longer than average. So is there a limit to human intelligence? Evolution has made our brains so capable that some of us are able to comprehend the most complex ideas, like the physicist Abhay Ashtekar, who comprehends quantum gravity, very complicated problem. But let's come to the point. What is history, definition, and concept of fetal behavior? I repeat some of the thoughts because this is very, very important. First of all, what is fetal behavior? There are many definitions. If I took linguistic definition, in English, it is the way in which someone or something behaves. And that can be accepted by some of you. Scientific, however, definition said that fetal behavior can be defined as any observable action or reaction to an external stimuli by the fetus. Or, a little bit simpler, behavior is the interaction of an organism with its environment. This is probably, for practical, is a good one. So, there are three ways to study fetal behavior: passive observation of activity, recording reaction of fetus to a stimulus, and by fetal habituation. Hand-to-head movement We published long time ago, 17 years ago, head-to-head mount base, all of them detectable and are part of our scoring system now. On the face is, as I said, mirror of the brain, predictor of the brain. It is reservoir of many important neurological parameters. Freud said on the face there are 17 face muscles. If you are lucky and happy, you'll be using 4 muscles. If you are grimacing, if you are angry, you have to use 17 muscles. So message is, why make so many muscles busy? Don't worry, be happy. So on the face, we have yawning, swallowing, sucking, smiling, tongue expulsion, mounting, and so on. All of them described in literature, all of them part of our KANET system. So what is fetal habituation? Is decrease leading to cessation of behavioral response that occurs when an initially novel stimulus is repeatedly presented. So learning, there is fetal habituation, a Japanese group published to virtual vibration stimulation, and habituation is widely accepted as a basic expression of fetal learning, memory, addiction, abilities, temperament, and fatigue. So all these 6 parameters, 6 topics can and are now already studied to understand the process of habituation. We have fast and we have slow habituation. There is a good evidence that normal habituation pattern reflects an intact and fully functioning central nervous system. So it does study of habituation tell us about functioning CNS. Why all of this is important? Because if behavior is product of functioning CNS, ultrasound evaluation of fetal behavior with 4D method will help us to prenatally diagnose abnormal behavior patterns and possible diagnosis of fetal brain function and dysfunction. So if you look at the baby at 28 weeks, unborn baby, you see what is said in all textbook in our secondary grammar school or even at the university, that unborn baby doesn't listen, doesn't watch. Both of them are wrong. Noise in utero is 70 decibel, as strong as busy street. And baby starts eyelids opening as early as 24, 26 weeks to gestation. And we now know which parts of brain are responsible for movements. Ladies and gentlemen, it's take-home message. To research is to see what others have already seen, but to think what others haven't thought. So science is discovering something new. In science, there is no good and bad work. Scientific results are called scientific discoveries. They immediately go to knowledge. So science is process of discovering new, and knowledge is increasing every day by scientific discoveries. I am very keen in fine art, and I have, you can see behind me in my study room, many valuable paintings. It's very interesting. They build artists like old Spanish masters, Murillo, Velázquez, Picasso, and the others, use the face to express feeling, character, to visualize, memories, emotions. So face stimulated big artists to do this. We are somewhat artists with 3D, 4D ultrasound, because again, largely neglected organ for us in ultrasound work, face was neglected for a long time. Now face is subject to great intensive research because every day we discover something new. So obviously science, medicine is science and art. Medicine combines science and art. If you look at this combined picture, we have beautiful artistic pictures of famous painters, and we have somewhat artistic pictures of unborn baby. We are producing such a nice photo that not long time in advance, we will be able to produce passport photo from antenatal period. My friend and your colleague, Professor Milan Stanojevic, who is working with me for last 30 years, said, Professor, I'm going to watch your antenatally examined fetuses and their behavior. I will put when they will be born in intensive care unit room, video camera, and I will see how they do behave, trying to answer, is there continuity between fetal and neonatal behavior? I will show you lovely examples from his already published studies. So you will not do obstetric sonography, most of you, but you should know that visualization like this one, with 5 fingers and adducted thumb, just this will give you 95% probability that that baby is neurologically normal. Baby with cerebral palsy will not show thumb. Thumb will be covered by the fingers. Next parameter is yawning. Even adult physiologists do not know why yawning exists. Is it sign of sadness, of tiredness, of happiness? Nobody knows. But whatever pathophysiology is behind, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, no one of you in the conference hall or at your home do exhibit this parameter. So there are many reasons to be unhappy in utero. 150 diseases affect fetus in utero. So baby has right for grimacing, but baby watch. So you see this lovely baby, and fetal vision, we know, is the last sense to develop. But very premature infant, you know that better than me, can see light and shape. Does the fetus have the same ability? Japanese scientists have been reporting distinct fetal reaction to flashes of light shined on the mother's baby. But may I ask you, going home and think about, does this baby like to communicate? Is there any message baby like to send to us? Is this baby at all aware of its existence? So fetal awareness is a new hot topic, studying cognitive function of the brain. Does the baby smile in utero? This happy boy from Zagreb. Now we can really visualize smiling in utero. To visualize, however, doesn't mean to understand. We are still working hard to understand other emotional stimuli, or is it just a reflex? Does the baby cry in utero? You know, the Chinese still believe that they are 9 months older than we. They add to chronological age antenatal period. Watching all of these fetal activities, I think Chinese are right. Life starts much earlier than we used to believe. If you find this baby with fixed position of the hand, all other parameters have been perfectly normal. Normal size, normal gestation age estimated. Everything was perfectly normal. But baby at each examination had a fixed position of the hand. So 32 weeks, anencephalic baby, no movement at all, mumia. However, if you look the same baby at 19, 20 weeks, you will see very dynamic, chaotic movements. So we learned the lesson that there are 2 centers for fetal movement, upper and lower. So when the lower one is active, at 14 weeks, we will have hypertonic movements, high amplitude, high speed in utero. But the same baby at 30 weeks, one of patients in Pakistan for religious reason didn't like to interrupt the pregnancy. There are no movement because there is no upper center for movement in an encephalic baby. So that was a little bit nice contribution to ever-growing encyclopedia of knowledge, to understand the presence of upper and lower limit of anencephalic baby limits for movements. In all our 11 cases of cerebral palsy, we found adducted thumb. So thumb covered by the fingers, and whatever you do, you cannot, that baby had a bilateral hydrocephaly, you cannot visualize thumb. And thumb is not adducted, we call it neurological thumb, present in all cases of cerebral palsy. Therefore, wherever you screen for neurological problems, do study fingers and show them with adducted thumb. Study of Professor Stanojevic, you see the baby in grimacing in. You see how lovely picture, similarity between antenatal and postnatal. As I said, passport photo can be obtained one day from pictures. So you see grimacing of the baby in utero, and you will see that the same grimacing this baby will exhibit, in neonatal intensive care unit. This baby was already shown to you, smiling baby, and the same happened in neonatal period. Always, this is my advice to all doing obstetric ultrasound, normal finger movement. But to finish this, Milan Stanojevic confirmed that there is continuity between fetal and neonatal behavior. All the facial expressions, all behavioral pattern we found in antenatally with ultrasound in fetuses have been repeated in neonatal period. So we speak really about the same person in two different parts of their life. So this is normal finger movement. If you can visualize it, so much the better. Or independent movement between two fingers. Picture upper, look. If you see 5 fingers and independent movement between 2 fingers, you can be 99% sure that this baby has no neurological problem, at least not serious, not cerebral palsy. So another parameters are face, facial expression, and isolated leg movements. So you see how 4D sonography improved. Not only you can visualize beautifully all anatomical components, but you can see movements, whether on face, mounting, finger sucking, yawning, crying, smiling, and isolated leg movement. Combination of the tongue exposure, naughty boy from Zagreb. So you can combine facial expression, most important, with isolated motoric on the leg and on the arm. So that was the first test that aimed to evaluate in structured and systematic way functional and structural development. And this is, in summing up, FANET test. We produced 3-point scale systems, 0, 1, 2, 3, and studied isolated head, anteflexion, blinking, and all of these parameters which I showed you, or at the periphery, isolated leg movement, isolated head movement, finger movements. Any one of you who are a little bit familiar with ultrasound, in 1 week can learn this test. Is there any competitor to ultrasound? Yes. This is picture of ultra-fast magnetic resonance. You can see a lot, but what you cannot see face. Furthermore, no one on the earth will give 4 million euros to buy magnetic resonance if for 100,000, 10 times less, much less, you can buy 4D machine. So furthermore, magnetic resonance is nobody proved that it is safe in pregnancy. Above 3.5 Tesla, it's not recommended in America to be used in pregnancy. Important to remember. So while we are examining early fetus total fetal behavior and phase by 4D, you know, your duty is to examine newborn with the methods which should be improved to reach better reliability and better accuracy. So our test was tested because if you pretend to have something which one can name by your name, you really have to prove it to many critical colleagues, critical batonists, and they did it. So CANET is a reliable method to be used in daily clinical practice. After proper education, we have 1 week course, intensive course in Zagreb, and we'll soon have in your country. So it's screening test for the detection of neurodevelopmental disability, and I might remind you, the only test available. All other tests performed in pregnancy are detecting fetal hypoxia. And fetal hypoxia is only 10% associated with cerebral palsy. So CANET test should be applied actually to all pregnant patients, and after 10, now 12 years of application as a research tool in many studies, it was concluded that it is ready for use in daily clinical practice of follow-up of fetus at neurological list. And it has sensitivity and specificity, good, positive, and negative predictive value. And also, there is strong recommendation for postnatal follow-up, and it's your duty and duty of adult neurologist until the age of 3 years. If you look, these lovely twins, one of them lost his sock. Another one is trying to tell him. They do have their own language, obviously. You will like another one, which happened during quarantena. Now, the big question is, do twins behave in utero like this? Does this social contact start in utero? We are in a deep process to study it. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the end, I'd just like to illustrate our work in progress to show you that intrauterine life has very strange situation. Monochorionic twins, one brother or sister is kicking face of its brother or sister. The big question is, does the kicked baby feel pain or pleasure? You can study it by studying facial expression of the co-twin after kicking the face. One of my young colleagues is doing beautiful research. Look at this picture from Zagreb. Monochorionic monoamniotic twins. Left baby will touch with the hand the nuchal region of his brother. Is there any reaction? Yes. Look at the hand of the touching nuchal region, another baby is moving the hand up. So big question about cognitive function. Does touched baby feels pleasure or pain? A very famous kissing twins published on the front page of American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology and published in 10 minutes movie for BBC. Look, opening the mouth. So the first mouth contact with the baby's monochorionic monoamnic twins are stimulating us now to see, is there any emotional part of this? Again, mouth contact. You can produce spectacular pictures, but science requires arguments. Tested, scientific, there is no good and bad work in science. So we produce 5 criteria to study inter-twin contacts as a new test and publish already 2 papers. So touch, no reaction, fast reaction, complex contact, mount contact, and diffuse interaction. All of them are detectable and present in different ratios among normal and abnormal multiple pregnancy. So the best way to study cognitive function of the fetuses are twins because they exhibit plenty of different parameters. So big question, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to investigate cognitive function of the fetal brain? We in Zagreb, in some collaborative study, already started to study, and I will just tell you in few minutes, very briefly, summary of our work. Biological basis are neural networks, thalamocortical architecture, very complicated, but you have to have at least basic to understand that stimulation in twins comes from maternal stimulation and from inter-twin stimulation. And cognitive function to be studied are ability to learn, memorize, think, perceive different sensations such as pain, have emotion, process audio-visual inputs, and to coordinate reaction and movements. They are subject of studies for many years, particularly now. We already published few papers about fetal cognitive function. Very, very interesting. We are now deeply involved in studying of music and fetal behavior and so on. So visual development start before 22 weeks. You and me have learned that baby doesn't watch in utero. You can easily visualize 28-week gestation. You see eyelids opening, and even the field of fetal ophthalmology, studying structure and function, is developed by our Japanese friend, Professor Ichiko Po. This is an interesting slide, one of the best I ever produced. You see urination of female fetus. It goes in amniotic fluid. It does changes in composition of amniotic fluid, cause effect on gustatory experience. Again, you can study this on the face. So look at the face of the same baby, now with 4D sonography. So this is just work in progress, and just to illustrate that all of these phenomena can be noticed. In intrahepatic cholestasis in pregnancy, we have high concentration of bile acids in maternal blood and amniotic fluid. Does face of the baby tell us how baby react on this oral nasal chemoreception? Auditory sensory system, we know that at 20 weeks cochlea is formed, and we know many things about that. Sleep and brain development, we know sensory awareness, the brain, roadmap to the mind, fetal psychology, and we publish even the paper with our German friend Honemeyer, phenotype expression of the fetus When does it begin? It begins in utero, but we need to prove it. Ladies and gentlemen, fetal phase is predictor of the brain. It is in the same time origin of individuality. We can study phenotype and genotype with a modern, highly sophisticated. You see the same individual at 28 weeks and 6 months. A lot of similarity. We now come to know to the regions all of these phase perception is basis. And ladies and gentlemen, future belongs to those who are planning it. They deserve future.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, Dr. Asim Kurzak. It was very, very informative. And the slides and the video and pictures are so good that can be used in our daily practice, in our in future diagnosis process. So I would like to thank Asim Kurzak for the very excellent presentation. I would like to ask if some questions can be taken or not. I just Dr. Niharika, can we should have a question answer session or not? Hello, Niharika.
Sir, as of now, we don't have any question in the chat box.
Oh, okay. So, so no question means I would like to request the Canet test, which is available now in the old in clinical practice, but we don't have in Nepal. We are trying to do this test. Dr. Awaz, you have, I think, Canet test you are doing there in Afghanistan?
Not yet. Yeah, we have not started that.
Yeah. So it is so useful to diagnose the neurological risks or neurological defect in utero. So I think we should thanks Dr. Asim Kurzak for introducing this Canet test, Kurzak antenatal neurodevelopmental test. So in our country, suppose you have an isolated ventriculomegaly, isolated deep cisterna magna, increase nuchal skin fold. At that time, how to counsel the fetus parents? So if you have if you can do the kinetic this test, so at least you can counsel the parents to continue the patient, because your fetus in utero, they are smiling, they are so they are doing some activity which shows that the neurodevelopment is good. So we can counsel that. So I think not every clinic they don't have this 4D ultrasound. So it's a difficulty in our developing countries. Yes, Dr. Asim? Not everybody everybody have this
Yes,
4D ultrasound in clinic. Yeah.
yes. On my turn, I'd like to thank the organizer and Professor Asim Kuriak to deliver a very brilliant lecture, and really it adds to our knowledge, and it is something that we will know. We have to establish such kind of facilities in our countries, though now we have started 3D and 4D. So now from now onwards, this lecture will make us to do what Asim was doing. So congratulations for Asim, and he has done worldwide good for education in case of ultrasound. And I'm very happy that sometimes before Dr. Asif Kurejak was in Kabul, and he was in our conference, and it is our we are very proud to have such a good professor and very humble and very knowledgeable.
Yes, I think also. So we should thank Asim Kurzak and organizer Safok International and Dr. Narendra Malhotra, Dr. Rohana, Dr. Neharika, Dr. Sela, Dr. Chitrakala. So I would like to thanks all the participants for joining in our webinar. So thank you, everybody. That's all, I think, today. Yes, something to, Dr. Narendra is there?
No, sir. Sir was unable to join today.
Okay, so I think, Dr. Awas, I think we should end the webinar today. Yes.
Yes, we hand over to moderators, and from us, goodbye.
Thank you so much, Hari sir, and thank you so much, Vahat sir, for joining and giving your valuable inputs for today's webinar. Mind-blowing it was, as it was expected. And in the end, I would like to say thanks to President Safok, Ruhana sir, Naren sir, Dr. Niharika, Dr. Hari Kishore sir, Dr. Vahaj sir, and obviously Dr. Asim sir. Ruhana sir, would you like to say something before we say goodbye to each other?
Actually, there is nothing much to add, but it was an excellent presentation. It was a very eye-opener, very educative, and up-to-date material which he presented. So it was a very, very important webinar for all of us, I think. So it was a very educative and a very nice. So we have to thank Dr. Narendra for getting Dr. Professor Kujak to deliver such an oration. Thank you very much. And thank you both of you, Dr. Sheila and Dr. Niharika, for moderating this session so wonderfully. Thank you very much. And the two chairpersons who really did a wonderful job and then gave the concluding remarks. So thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much. Thank you, Chitrakala. And thank you, Mr. Ravi, for putting all the pieces together for today's webinar. And I wish all the very best. And we will wait for our next webinar. Till then, India is celebrating Navratra. So happy Navratra to everyone. And Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Good night. Stay